Hey there! Have you ever wondered how we get more potatoes? If you think about an apple, you know there are tiny seeds inside. You can plant those seeds to grow a new apple tree. The same goes for watermelons, oranges, and even tomatoes. They all have seeds. But what about a potato? Have you ever cut open a potato and found a bunch of seeds inside? Nope. It's just a solid, starchy vegetable. So, how on earth do farmers grow fields and fields of potatoes if there are no seeds to plant? It's a fantastic question that leads us to one of nature's most amazing secrets. It's a kind of plant magic. This mystery isn't just about potatoes. Think about a beautiful rose bush in a garden. Your neighbor might have one, and you wish you had the exact same one. You could wait for it to make seeds, but there's a faster way. You can take a small piece of the stem, plant it, and it will grow into a whole new rose bush that is exactly the same. This method seems like a science fiction trick, but it's completely real. Plants have found a way to make more of themselves without going through all the trouble of making flowers, attracting bees for pollination, and then producing seeds. It's a shortcut, and it's super effective. The secret behind these seedless wonders is a special kind of reproduction. Reproduction is just a science word for making more of something, like how parents have children. Usually, in the plant and animal world, this involves two parents. But some amazing living things have figured out how to do it all by themselves. They don't need a partner. They are single parents who can create a whole new generation on their own. This process is like having a superpower that lets you create a clone of yourself whenever you want. It's a whole different way of life that is happening all around us, in our gardens and even in our kitchens. So, let's get ready to dive into this incredible world of solo parent plants. We are going on an adventure to uncover the secrets of how a simple potato can sprout into a new plant from just its eyes, and how other living things use similar tricks. You'll discover that seeds are not the only way to start a new life in the plant kingdom. There's a whole other method that is just as important and, in some ways, even more interesting. Prepare to be amazed by the clever ways that nature ensures life continues, sometimes in the most unexpected ways possible. It's time to solve the mystery of the seedless potato. So, what is this amazing trick that potatoes and roses use? It's called asexual reproduction. That might sound like a big, complicated science term, but let's break it down. The A at the beginning of asexual means not or without. The word sexual refers to the process that involves two parents combining their information to make a new, unique baby. So, asexual reproduction simply means making a new plant or creature without two parents. It only takes one. This solo parent does all the work by itself to create a new life. It's like a magician pulling a rabbit out of a hat, except the plant is pulling a whole new plant out of itself. The most important thing to remember about asexual reproduction is that it only needs one parent. Imagine a plant deciding, I want to make a copy of myself, and then just doing it. There's no need to create flowers to attract bees, no need for pollen to travel from one flower to another, and no need to grow seeds. This makes the whole process much faster and simpler. The single-parent plant uses a part of its own body, like a stem, a leaf, or a root, to grow a brand new, complete plant. It's an incredibly efficient way to spread and grow in numbers, especially when the conditions are just right. Another super cool feature of this process is that the new plant is an exact copy of the parent. It's a clone. This means it will have the same DNA, which is the instruction manual for how to grow and what to look like. If the parent potato was big and tasty, the new potato plant it creates will also grow big and tasty potatoes. If the parent rose bush had beautiful red flowers, the new plant grown from its stem will also have the exact same beautiful red flowers. There are no surprises. This is very different from sexual reproduction, where the offspring gets a mix of traits from two parents and can look different from both of them. This exact copy feature is like using a photocopier. The parent plant puts itself on the copier and presses the start button. Out comes a perfect replica. This is fantastic if the parent plant is strong, healthy, and perfectly suited to its environment. Why change a winning formula? By making identical copies, the plant ensures that its successful design will continue to thrive. It's a strategy for survival that relies on consistency rather than variety. This simple yet powerful method has allowed many types of plants and even some simple animals to successfully populate the world for millions of years, all without ever needing a partner. One of the most common types of this solo parent magic is called vegetative propagation. The word vegetative refers to the parts of a plant that aren't involved in making seeds, like the roots, stems, and leaves. Propagation is just a fancy word for creating new plants. So, vegetative propagation means creating new plants from the roots, stems, or leaves of a single parent plant. This is exactly what happens with our friend, the potato. A potato is actually a special kind of underground stem called a tuber. The little eyes on a potato are actually buds. If you plant a piece of a potato with an eye, that bud will sprout and grow into a whole new potato plant. This method is incredibly popular with gardeners and farmers. Have you ever seen someone grow a new plant from a cutting? They might snip a piece of stem from a plant like a mint or a rose, stick it in some soil or water, and watch it grow new roots. That's vegetative propagation in action. The small piece of stem has everything it needs to grow into a complete new plant that is identical to the one it came from. Some plants, like strawberries, do this all on their own. They send out long stems called runners that race across the ground. Wherever a runner touches the soil, it grows new roots and a new strawberry plant pops up. But plants aren't the only ones that can do this. Some very simple animals have a similar trick up their sleeve called budding. Imagine a tiny balloon, and then a smaller balloon starts to grow out of its side. That's what budding looks like. A small organism called yeast, which is a type of fungus used to make bread rise, reproduces this way. A new small cell, called a bud, starts to grow on the side of the parent yeast cell. It gets bigger and bigger until it's large enough to break away and live on its own as a brand new yeast cell. It's a perfect little copy of its parent. Another fascinating method is called fragmentation. This is exactly what it sounds like. A new organism grows from a fragment, or a broken piece, of the parent. Some types of algae, like the long, green, stringy spirogyra you might see in a pond, are experts at this. If a strand of spirogyra breaks into pieces for any reason, maybe it's disturbed by a fish or a current, each one of those small pieces can grow into a new, complete strand of algae. It's an amazing survival skill. If you try to get rid of it by breaking it up, you might just end up with more of it than you started with. Let's take a closer look at the four main types of this amazing one-parent reproduction. First, we have vegetative propagation, which we've already talked about with potatoes and roses. This is the superstar method in the plant world. It can happen naturally, like with the runners of a strawberry plant or the bulbs of a tulip. Or humans can help it along by taking cuttings. This technique allows us to clone our favorite plants. If you find a tree that grows the sweetest apples you've ever tasted, you can take a cutting from it and grow a new tree that will produce those exact same apples. It's a powerful tool for farming and gardening. The second method is budding, which we saw with yeast. While it's common in tiny organisms like yeast, some simple animals like the hydra also use it. A hydra lives in fresh water and looks like a tiny tube with tentacles. When it's ready to reproduce, a small bump, or bud, will form on its body. This bud grows its own tiny tentacles and a mouth. Eventually, it becomes a miniature version of its parent. When it's fully formed, it simply detaches and floats away to start its own life. It's like a parent growing a tiny clone of itself on its side, and then sending it off into the world when it's ready. Our third method is fragmentation. This is the ultimate recycling program in nature. Remember the spirogyra? It's not the only one that does this. Starfish are famous for it too. If a starfish loses one of its arms, it can often regrow a new one. But what's even more incredible is that in some species, if the broken off arm is large enough and contains a piece of the central part of the starfish, it can regrow into a completely new starfish. This ability to regenerate a whole body from just a piece is an incredible survival mechanism. It turns a potential injury into an opportunity to create more of itself. Finally, we have spore formation. This might make you think of mushrooms, and you'd be right. Fungi, like mushrooms and molds, don't grow from seeds. Instead, they release millions of tiny, dust-like particles called spores. Each single spore is like a tiny package with everything it needs to grow into a new fungus if it lands in a place with the right conditions, like moisture and food. Ferns also use spores. If you look at the underside of a fern leaf, you might see tiny brown dots. These are cases full of spores. When they are ready, the cases burst open and release the spores into the wind to find a new home. So, why is this method of making exact copies, or asexual reproduction, so useful? One of the biggest advantages is speed. Growing from a seed can be a slow and risky process. The seed needs to land in the right spot, get enough water and sunlight, and survive being eaten by animals. Asexual reproduction is like taking a shortcut. A new plant grown from a cutting or a tuber is already partly grown. It has a head start in life, so it can establish itself and grow much more quickly than a tiny seedling. For farmers who need to grow crops quickly to feed people, this speed is a huge benefit. Another major advantage is reliability. Because the new plant is a clone of the parent, you know exactly what you are going to get. This is incredibly important in agriculture. If a farmer discovers a type of potato that is resistant to a certain disease or that tastes extra delicious, they want to grow more of that specific potato. By using vegetative propagation, they can produce thousands of identical plants that all share those desirable traits. There's no risk of getting a new plant that doesn't have the same qualities. This consistency is key to modern farming, ensuring a predictable and high-quality food supply for all of us. This method is also great for plants that live in stable environments where conditions don't change much. If a plant is perfectly adapted to its home, there's no need to create new, different offspring that might not be as well suited. By making identical copies, the plant can quickly fill up a favorable area with more of its successful self. It's a strategy that says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This allows plants like mint or bamboo to spread rapidly and dominate an area, creating a large, thriving community of clones that are all perfectly happy in their shared home. It's an effective way to multiply when you know you have a winning combination. Finally, asexual reproduction is a lifesaver when finding a partner is difficult. Some plants might grow in areas where there aren't many other plants of their kind around. Or maybe the pollinators, like bees and butterflies, are scarce. In these situations, relying on another plant for reproduction would be a big problem. Asexual reproduction solves this issue completely. Since it only requires one parent, a plant can reproduce all by itself, ensuring its species continues to survive even when it's isolated. It's a brilliant backup plan that gives plants a way to make babies no matter what, making them incredibly resilient and successful. Wow, what a journey into the world of solo parent plants. We started with a simple question: how do potatoes grow without seeds? Now we know the answer is a fantastic process called asexual reproduction. We learned that this is nature's way of making new life with just one parent. There's no need for flowers, pollen, or seeds. It's a direct and efficient way for a plant or simple organism to make more of itself. It's a very different strategy from the two-parent method we see in most animals and many other plants, but it's just as important for life on Earth. The most amazing part of this process is that the new offspring is a perfect copy or clone of its parent. It has the exact same genetic instructions, which means it will look and act just like its parent. This is why a potato grown from an eye will produce more potatoes of the same kind, and a rose grown from a cutting will have the same beautiful flowers as its parent. This like-for-like copying is a key feature, making the results predictable and reliable, which is something gardeners and farmers love. It's like having a guarantee that you'll get the same great plant every single time. We explored 4 cool types of this process. We saw vegetative propagation in action with potatoes, strawberries, and roses, where new plants grow from stems, roots, or leaves. We peeked into the microscopic world to see budding, where a new individual grows off the side of its parent, like with yeast. We learned about fragmentation, the incredible ability of organisms like Spirogyra and starfish to regrow from broken pieces. And finally, we uncovered the secret of spore formation, where fungi and ferns release millions of tiny spores that can each grow into a new organism. In the end, we discovered that being a copycat is a real superpower in the natural world. Asexual reproduction is fast, reliable, and allows plants to multiply even when they are all alone. It helps farmers grow the food we eat and allows plants to quickly spread in places where they are happy and successful. So, the next time you see a potato starting to sprout, you'll know you're not just looking at an old vegetable. You're looking at the beginning of a new life, a perfect clone ready to grow, all thanks to the amazing science of asexual reproduction. Now that's what I call amazing science.